Robin Hood Radio presents Agriculture from Tukerna Farms. Here's Mark Scherzer.
In my imagination, I, who am usually a weekend farmer, fantasize that I can just move up here and live full-time on the farm in the summer. Life will settle into a calm, productive routine. I will rise early, help feed all the critters, and release the birds from their nighttime confinement. After breakfast, I spend an hour or two weeding and tending to the vegetable garden before the heat of the sun gets too intense. From noon to 2 or 3, I can attend to office work inside, just checking in and supervising while my legal practice runs itself smoothly 97 miles away. Then, as the sun shifts, I can go back outside for a major project or two, whipping everything into beautiful shape before cocktail hour gives us the respite to appreciate the productive oasis we've created. Then on to evening chores while Peter prepares a farm-fresh dinner to be enjoyed on the screen porch in the cool of sunset. In this little fantasy, I'm very much one with the universe, playing my part just like the creatures I observe play theirs. Today I watched a hummingbird visiting pink phlox, monarchs settling on the Joe Pye weed, bumblebees at the tansy blooms, and honeybees buzzing around the little flowers forming on top of the Greek globe basil in the vegetable garden. I thought of each of them having their dedicated little task, going about it methodically, quietly, sucking nectar and moving it about, transferring energy around by pollinating, while simultaneously feeding themselves. In my imagined fantasy, I believe that I am in some ways living just like them. Our daily routine on the farm is to move nutrition about, weeds and vegetable garden cast-offs to the livestock, picking vegetables and berries for our customers, and in the course of that process, we sustain ourselves. It's a simple life with predictable routines and simple pleasures, all in all, a model for balance and equanimity. Ha! What did I know? This week I got to try my fantasy life. Our farm helper, Peter, was taking the week for vacation, and Peter, my partner, couldn't possibly do everything on his own, so I enthusiastically grabbed the opportunity to test my theory. It's halfway through the week now, or a little more, and I think I can say with some assurance that my fantasy has met reality and conceded defeat. Yes, my day is structured more or less on the schedule I envisioned. But where was the calm orderliness, single-minded dedication to efficiently apportioned tasks? I underestimated the forces of chaos which complicate our lives in ways that could never, I don't think, affect monarchs or hummingbirds the same way. Early in the morning, before most of the rest of the world gets going, it's easy to focus on the tasks of morning chores. But the hour or so it takes to tend the critters can still stretch well beyond its allotted time if one needs to attend to any unexpected issues that present themselves, such as a ewe who is hobbling because her hooves were clearly missed in the last trimming and are growing in on themselves. Having to put her in the hoof-trimming hammock and clip her hooves alters the daily schedule in unanticipated ways. Further complicated as Peter yells from the house that breakfast is ready while I'm in the middle of the first hoof, which means that I have to take the ewe out of the hammock, confine her in the barn, and return after breakfast to finish up. Then there is what, on weekends, is a minor task, picking and packing produce, a task I had not even bargained for in my imaginary weekday schedule. Weekends, we consider ourselves busy if 4 or 5 customers come and pick up produce in an entire day, and often it's just a bunch of eggs. With the miracle now of our farms-to-table service, which allows us to accept orders for a wide array of products in quantities big and small to customers from New York City to Saratoga, weekdays may require that 10 or more orders be packed in individually labeled bags. Because they're not just going across Germantown to someone's kitchen, they must be packed with some care and ready for transfer to the refrigerated truck that arrives daily from mid to late afternoon. And the quantities for these orders are larger than weekend orders. Assembling, packing, and labeling 5 cabbages for one buyer, 3 pounds of beets and 10 bunches of basil for another, and then 11 pounds of squash and a single packet of 10 shiso leaves requires a kind of assembly line in our kitchen. Peter and I are eminently qualified for this work, my Juris Doctor degree clearly enabling me to go out and pick and haul the produce, while Peter's Ph.D. is put to good use as an expert packing clerk. Nor is this packing task an entirely uninterrupted project. Once the business day is underway, the insistent little smartphone in my pocket starts beeping with emails and text messages. My law practice refuses to be confined to the noon to 3 slot. I may be discussing settlement with a client while I'm picking beans or drafting a response to emails while I'm filling a water trough. It seems that assembling the day's pickups takes us to 11 or even noon. So much for a morning of weeding and putting order in the vegetable garden. Is it any wonder that there are corners of the vegetable garden that have, with our extraordinary weed season, become so weedy that one is no longer even sure if there are vegetables planted there? My effort to move some projects forward in the afternoons this week met with some success. With the turkeys now grown too big to get picked off by hawks, I was able to get their outdoor main pen organized. But Peter, ever cautious, has insisted we must not give them free range of the entire pen, at least until an open path is cleared entirely around the perimeter that would expose marauding predators to view. Unfortunately, in my zeal to do this clearing Tuesday, I grabbed one weed stalk, about 7 feet high, very tightly without looking at it, and grasped some sort of stinging insect, a wasp or hornet, which before curling up and dying, stuck its zinger of a stinger deeply, excruciatingly into my hand. The pain passed after about 15 minutes, but when my hand and wrist started swelling up 5 hours later, and I began to have trouble swallowing, a trip to the emergency room and prescribed prednisone and Benadryl ensued, and so vanished a couple of hours I had not anticipated working into my fantasy schedule. I must say that the week has so far been highly instructive for me. It has made me realize that my fantasy of a full-time summer on the farm while continuing to practice law in the interstices is unrealizable. I doubt there would ever be such a thing as a routine day. Rather than flit along a pre-planned route like a monarch or a hummingbird seeking out favorite flower after favorite flower, I expect the daily challenge would be to get to one's planned activities, any of them, while dealing with the constant frustrations and diversions that keep popping up. The week has given me a considerably enhanced appreciation for the energy and drive Peter and Peter, our helper, apply daily to keep the place operating. It's a wonder to me, given the tasks that must be accomplished, the daily press of crises and deadlines, that any of the vegetable beds are so thoroughly weeded as they are, that new planting gets done, that tomatoes get staked and tied up, let alone that the perennial garden looks so spectacular. Peter reminds me that in our earliest days here, I sometimes asked him, "What do you do here all day?" as if the farm could run with a lot of time to spare. That question continued to lurk anywhere in my consciousness. I think it's fair to say it has been banished this week.
Peter Davies and his partner Mark Scherzer are proprietors of Turkana Farms, specializing in heritage breeds of livestock on their 40-acre farm in Germantown, New York. Peter also presides over Turkana Odyssey, in which he customizes cultural tours in Turkey for small groups, which he calls an insider's view of Turkey. And his third hat is Turkana Gallery of old and antique kilns, which he operates in the Wall Street area of Manhattan. Mark presides over his law firm, Mark Scherzer Law Office, which specializes in health law, also in the Wall Street area. Their farm website, turkanafarms.com. Their email, farm@turkanafarms.com, or 518-537-3815.